To summarize really simply for you, focus less on the outcome. How do you do that? Focus on all these other things about you that you want, that will make you happy, right? See, it's not the bullshit that everybody tells you, just go get some missions. That's part of it, but there's all these other little things that will tie into it with the man that you are. When you're that man, then you start to present real truth. You see?
I'll throw one other thing out there too is, dude, you start glowing, you start walking, you start strutting, you start walking different, you start, holding your head up higher. It's noticeable. It comes across as a bad motherfucker, like when you drop that fear and that quit walking on eggshells, you talk differently. Your tone of voice changes, and it's noticeable. You might not notice it, you might, but she will, like everybody will.
The only way you'll probably notice it is if you're stupid about it and you start to get rude, belligerent, ignorant. It's not about, I don't care what you think. It's just about being proud of the choices you're making, the man that you are, the things that you want to do, like whatever. They should be true to your core values. Ultimately, she probably has 0 core values too. She probably cannot list them off. If you know yours and you live by yours, you create the daily principles that you need around creating that life. You are picturing the man that you want to be, and you're doing what that guy would do. Like you just exude this energy of life. It's like the yes tone takes care of itself. You know what I mean? It just does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just do it. It just fucking happens.
Mm-hmm. Okay? So, to summarize really simply for you, focus less on the outcome. How do you do that? Focus on all these other things about you that you want, that will make you happy, right? See, it's not the bullshit that everybody tells you, just go get some missions. That's part of it, but there's all these other little things that will tie into it with the man that you are. When you're that man, then you start to present real truth. Excuse me. This is why she can trust you. It's when she's not focused on separation. You're not changing for her. She's like, she might still say it because that's what she's been rehearsing. But she's like, yeah, let's go on the date though. Right? That guy, see, just here, let me give you one last summary. Earlier when I said that, you're like, oh, we're not ready for a date. Well, bullshit. If you're getting along great, it's time for a date. Maybe it's a hangout. But you're still spending time together, right? So don't limit yourself based off of what she says. She's going to miss out if you plan a great date. And by the way, if she's not that emotional, doesn't share really well with it, she's not really in tune, cool. Make it so safe that she can finally get it out. Children are like that too when they're told to be quiet. It's how they become adults like that, right? And so, I don't know who that is, but if you can create that environment, you'll be surprised when she finally blows. Good, she needs to get it out. She's old enough now where it's been a long time. That's why I say in the reset, if your kids are younger.
She's definitely starting to try to be honest with her deep self with me, and so when it comes, she's hitting my car pretty hard, and I've been taking it like a boss mostly. So I think that's making some progress and just trying to get to that. And she is very, very, very well versed in. She hasn't been in a program, but she does all this stuff on her own. She's a researcher, she'll just go after all of the. So
this is
paint her as a emotional or something.
I'm not saying that, but also I don't like the way this is going either. Like, you got to think about it. You can be a researcher all you want. I was a researcher. 20 years working with women, right? Decades, didn't do anything with the information until my marriage almost fell apart. I don't know how many books I read by now. I spent $300,000 on courses, almost $400,000 on courses, degrees, whatever. A lot of that's Kathryn too, don't get me wrong. That's all research, let's say. Implementation is entirely different. If you ever wonder why I create a lot of my own systems that go into the reset, right? It's because there was stuff that you can research all you want. If that stuff worked, people wouldn't be divorcing so rampantly. So research is great. What do we do with it, right? Make sense?
Yeah, but I can't tell you how many times I've heard something in here and thinking back, why didn't I listen? Miriam told me this a long time ago, so I just couldn't hear it then. It was like it had to get to this point. Now from you guys, I've heard it, and
So funny you're bringing that up. I wrote my email for tomorrow. I just started doing daily emails. I want to give people daily thoughts, right? And I put that's what I'm talking about tomorrow, is like talking about the 2 decades of women telling me, well, I would want Mark more if he would, and fill in the blank. I wish Andy would stay out of town because I just don't want to see him. I wish he'd keep working out of town. I don't want to come home. I heard all this stuff for years. We don't hear it the same way, when you're not ready. Using the same gym as an example, I could have this one woman, Heather, for example, comes to mind, had a six-pack for years. Like 3 years before her referrals, her friends started coming in. They weren't ready yet. Why is that different? Why should we judge you? You don't know what you don't know, and you also have to be ready to learn it, right? Number one. Number two, it's extremely hard to learn from your spouse because you haven't dealt with being defensive yet. You haven't dealt with being open. You haven't dealt with, getting out of your nice guy. You haven't dealt with the fact that you feel like you need her approval and this feels like disapproval and you don't like it yet. You haven't dealt with the anxiety yet. We haven't dealt with all these things, not to mention we've been stacking bricks on the wall and the emotional connection's been dissipating, right? And all these things have been happening, right? So your wife can tell you things all the time. You can feel bad or not, sure, but you're also going to get it all wrong when you're finally ready. Kathryn said, don't yell. I'd love you more. I'd be happy with you. I'd want to have sex with you if you stopped yelling. I did stop yelling for a fucking year. So I wouldn't go to jail while I was on probation after the restraining order. Didn't fix anything. It's not what she needed. That was the immediate cushion of safety. So it needed to be done, but it wasn't what was going to fix anything. I'm not going to listen to her till I was blue in the face. So the first thing is accepting it's hard to hear from your loved one. Anybody you care about. You have to be open. We talked about that earlier in the call. You have to be open and understand you don't know everything until you're an expert, and then you can still learn, right? I come down on you guys pretty hard sometimes. That doesn't mean somebody doesn't challenge me and I don't go, okay? A recent example, I don't know if Jason's on the call still, but Jason, next day I came back and I thought more about his business. Came back and asked a question or two, right? So that's the first part. The second part is it's almost always never what you need because they don't know either. They're not thinking about just yelling at that moment. They're thinking about all these things, and it's been a blend of things. And if you would have tried to listen to her every single time she had a problem, I'm not saying that would be bad or good, but I'm telling you, you probably would have gone and trained yourself more for happy wife, happy life, because you still didn't fix the problem of knowing what you needed, how to communicate what you wanted. If she would only listen to you, did she fix those things? There's so much more to this equation than I should have listened to my wife. First-hand experience. Okay?